No, we got a couple of good nuggets though.
Uh-oh. I forgot to do the sign off for like three, two, one, and press the record button.
Oh
So
yeah.
I accidentally started recording a little early, little trigger finger right there. So we've been recording for like the last 30 seconds. Just gonna play
That's
it smooth.
okay.
No,
It's normal for people as they get older to, have trouble with their timing of certain things.
fuck off. This thing's out of tune. Damn it. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna ride it. Ride or die. To Schmo Show. Uh, Full disclosure on the beginning of this episode, there are geese having a hissy fit outside my apartment right now, so I apologize for any geese sounds.
Yeah, we've got geese over by you. I'm on a completely different setup than normal, and I've got a washing machine about 10 feet away from me, so
Ooh, lovely.
it's about as scuffed as it's gonna get.
This is the magic of the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah. The superb owl waits for no schmo.
Pretty much. Have you heard of Taylor Swift betting that's going on there?
No, I haven't. What are
Okay,
people betting on?
how many times Taylor is shown during the game?
I doubt it's more than twice.
I'm saying they're probably going to do it like during a few key commercial breaks, before and after key commercial breaks. Just because they know the fan base.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm the infamous
But I
Orion.
also think,
Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah.
as if the intro of this could be botched anymore. I'm the infamous Orion Schmo.
um, okay, whatever, Schmo.
And this is incredibly awkward. What were you saying?
The whole thing with Taylor Swift is so dumb because, like, for one, she's a perfectly, like, by all measurable accounts, she seems like a perfectly fine person. Probably one of the most well-adjusted celebrities we've ever had, honestly. Um,
You say that until we find out
and
about the piss drawer.
it is both kind of sad and very funny with how much people have been latching on to the like 30 seconds of airtime that has been given to her. And not by like her own request or anything, right? She's just there to support her significant other and happens to be famous. She's not asking for any of this shit to happen.
I think it's just an incredible sign of how desperate the NFL is.
Yeah. And just the media in general.
Yeah.
Especially because there's been a lot of memes lately about her aircraft usage, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yes.
And they're very funny. And I don't want people to stop making them. But also, it's incredibly overblown. It's not like she's the number one polluter in the world or something, even among celebrities.
It's not like she took a private jet to her own documentary about environmentalism.
I mean, she probably did, but
That was a Leonardo DiCaprio joke.
no. Anyways, Super Bowl's going to happen, and as far as I'm concerned, it's just an excuse to have some tasty food and hopefully watch the Chiefs lose because then we can have some plausible deniability that maybe the Lions were actually the second best team this year and not tied third, fourth.
Ooh, I like the way you think.
Yeah, because they beat the Chiefs when they faced them earlier this year. So
What do you think
if the
is
Niners win, you never know.
incredible American question right now, right?
Mm.
What is better, the food on Super Bowl or the food on Thanksgiving?
Oh, well, the Thanksgiving food is of a much higher quality, right? Um,
Yes.
but I do think that there's certainly something to be said for the appeal of the just sheer volume of junk food that the Super Bowl brings out.
I'm I'm kind of with you on that one. I agree.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is a chef's holiday.
Yep.
Super Bowl is a tailgater's holiday.
Yep. Yeah. There's no turkeys being cooked right now. It's wings at best.
Now, everybody gather around for the holidays. Delicious servings of wings. Dad's gonna cut them, deliver them out.
In other news, though,
Yo,
because like, who actually cares about the Super Bowl? Uh, I have now. I want to start with this because
yeah,
I'm riding this high still. I have finished watching the second season of Loki. I watched the last two episodes,
yes,
and it is easily the best thing that the MCU has made since Endgame.
really,
I'll put it that way. Yes. I would say probably the only thing, and it sucks that it's in a TV show format because of that. To me, Loki as, season 1 and 2 is probably the only thing that Marvel has made since like the Avengers arc that I feel like is much watch because it is just the coolest shit. It is excellent. And who did the writing on it? Oh god, I can't remember his name. There's one person who did like Michael Waldron, head writer for it, for season 1. And who was the other one? There was someone else. I'm apologize to them because I cannot remember or find their name right now. They wrote amazing science fiction, and it is very easy to take that for granted. But they did in the same way that like the Avengers was able to make the superhero genre cool in like a very of the time period action adventure kind of way.
yeah.
I feel like Loki, and in particular Loki season 2, manages to sort of take that in the other direction by taking the superhero foundations and just turning it into a really great science fiction thriller that completely stands up on its own.
I do feel like we are in this weird underappreciation for good sci-fi at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's because like a lot of sci-fi, as you said, it was funneled through like superhero stuff. Even like look at
Yeah.
Loki. So it makes me happy to hear you describe this as sci-fi instead of just like a superhero mam jam.
Yeah. And it absolutely is. And it's kind of funny because there is one notable part where in season 2 at least the superhero stuff kind of has a moment to shine through, and it's notable because how infrequent it actually happens. But yeah, I highly recommend it if you've not seen it yet. It has in episode 6, in the last episode, I think it has my favorite scene of any Marvel show or
Really?
movie, and it has no dialogue. It is just like raw putting all of their animation budget into one bucket and it absolutely paying off. It is just it's phenomenal. And
Marvel
it's
with good
very cool.
animation? What?
Yeah. Well, CGI.
Interesting. Okay.
It is excellent.
I need to watch Loki. I just have not given myself the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame because like so much of the rest of the Marvel output has been teetering between either being, like there's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is really good.
Yeah.
But everything else has been kind of like shovelware. Very medium to bad. And it's unfortunate because I really feel like this probably got caught up in a lot of it. And it's so good that I'm shocked I haven't heard more about it from people just talking about it.
My concern is
It's cool. I genuinely I lack the vocabulary to accurately describe how cool it is without just repeating what actually happens.
So my concern is you brought up Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yes.
But you did not bring up No Way Home. Do you feel like that's changed a little bit?
I think that No Way Home, No Way Home, uh, and the Black Widow movie, both to me, are very awkward in where they actually fit into the larger story for me.
Oh, okay.
Black Widows is because it's like it's on purpose, right? It's technically like a flashback, an extended flashback, because he's dead at that point, of course, in the actual like uh current timeline of what's happening in the story. But No Way Home in particular is very cool, but it doesn't feel cool to me because it is a good MCU piece. It's cool because it manages to be like 2 hours of fan service and sticks the landing in doing that. And that's really rare.
Not a bad way of putting it.
I genuinely forget that it's like, oh yeah, that did happen after the Avengers arc and technically fits into that time period because it's so isolated from everything else that's going on. And it kind of has to be, right? Because there's so many other things happening in that movie. And I just forget that, yeah, it is also technically part of all of that.
For me, No Way Home has this weird, like, quasi existence where everybody sees it as the three Spider-Man movie, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I also have this opinion that it's the last time the MCU was able to do like guest star movies, like Thor
Mhm.
Ragnarok or something like that, because Doctor Strange obviously is a big part of the movie.
Yep.
And I feel like because it's the three Spider-Man movie, no one ever sees it as like a guest star movie.
No.
And it's always weird to me to like have to remind myself that like it's probably one of the better examples of like a MCU guest star aspect as well.
Oh yeah.
But again,
It does it really well.
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of telling, right? It does it so well that you kind of like forget that, yeah, Doctor Strange is a guest star here.
Yeah.
He is also there, but it's
Just
just so much not the focus of it that it gets just resigned to like the one fight scene and some exposition.
so strange.
Yeah. But yeah, Loki season two. First like 4 episodes are like sevens, eights out of tens.
Yeah.
Totally fine, serviceable for exposition and moving the plot. Last 2 episodes, solid 10 out of 10s, absolute bangers, and just some of the coolest concepts being explored well that I've ever seen in Marvel. There's not a lot that Marvel does from an originality standpoint, right? Because so much of it is taken from comics or short stories that have come before. Having this be its own thing and then also working is just really cool.
I wish the MCU would do more like original stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I want to say more, but I don't know. Like even in like really small ways, it's like I don't want to spoil it because there's just so much cool shit. So we'll talk about this in a second here. I've now watched the Doctor Who 2023 specials. You have to watch Loki season 2 so that I can talk about this because it is just excellent, and I really want to.
Okay. I know it's on my list. I will bump it up the list a little bit more. I
I
apologize.
feel like the head writer Eric Barton they must have known what they were doing at a certain point because apparently episode 5 is literally called science/fiction, and it very much is. It's excellent.
I love that this is a Super Bowl episode and we just started off with MCU stuff in the year of our Lord 2024.
It's it's great.
Yeah.
It For me, this is one of the few things like original Iron Man
Yeah.
where it very much it transcends the MCU. It stands on its own as its own thing, and you don't need to watch any of the other MCU. If you start with Loki season 1, you can watch the entirety of this, appreciate the characters and their development and what happens, and still have the really cool moments at the end to have consequences that matter.
Hmm.
That's a rare thing in the MCU. So it's awesome to see. With that, though, would you like to talk about the Doctor?
I was born to talk about the Doctor.
I have now seen the three David Tennant specials,
Yes,
as well as the first episode of Nkuti Gatwa's upcoming season.
it's a Shooty Gachwa, actually.
Shuti, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I've said that so many times wrong that it's a
Yeah.
makes me feel silly. So yes, these are the 60th anniversary specials and the Christmas special for
Hmm.
2023. Um, what are your initial thoughts? Okay, let's rewind it back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
David Tennant coming back, very fan favorite Doctor.
Yes.
Some claim even the best
Yeah.
Doctor, and he's back,
Yeah.
and it's not even apologetic. It's pure fan service,
Yep.
and that's okay. Well,
It
that's all
is.
right then.
It is so. Yeah. It is so unabashed and honest about. Yep. It's fan service. David Tennant's here. There's not a good reason for it. We just wanted to bring David Tennant back, and that's fine.
Yeah,
It's very fun. It works. David Tennant is still great. And I'll say the thing that surprised me the most is I've never been a particularly big fan of Donna and
yeah.
Catherine Tate's performance as Donna. But I think I don't know if it's just having more time and experience, or if maybe they toned it down a little bit after seeing similar feedback on it. But her character seemed much more of a character and less of a caricature than her presentation in the past, and I appreciated that a lot as well.
I really enjoy this older Donna. Like she comes
Yeah.
in with a lot less energy than old in the younger Donna, which is fine because obviously
Hmm.
Catherine Tate's
Yep.
older now. But
Yep.
like Donna is a cool character when you put the element of time into her a little bit more. That she's like matured,
Hmm.
she's got a kid now, she's a mom,
Yep.
and Donna makes actually a very natural mother,
He does.
which is really weird because this is also the lady that threatened to beat the Doctor like halfway across the galaxy and back.
And you still believe that she could do that.
Donna, full
She's got
disclosure,
the fire still when she needs it.
the scariest person in the Doctor Who universe, Donna Noble.
Hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, do you want to kind of go through each
Um.
special one by one?
Yeah. Sure. We might as well.
Yeah.
There's not. There's what? There's three of them, right? So yeah.
Technically four, but
Well, yeah. Well, so we'll. I think we'll do the specials, and then we'll do the winter or the Christmas special.
yeah. So, the Star Beast.
Yeah.
Funniest thing about this episode to me is when they started off with like the 14th Doctor giving a monologue for anybody who hasn't watched Doctor Who in the last few seasons.
Hmm.
Uh, did your uncanny valley reflex kind of go off on that one? Because seeing David Tennant stare directly at the camera at me definitely did so.
Oh, and absolutely. And that is a problem that I found was present throughout this entire series of specials that it seems like they fixed when they got back to doing the mainline stuff. Is that I guess say the mainline stuff, the Christmas special. I didn't notice it as much in there. Is that the use and overuse of green screen is very obvious, and I
Yes,
don't like it. It is uncanny.
I don't
And
mind the
that is
green.
definitely the worst of it.
Yeah, I know one element of these specials that has like a lot of green screen, and I know people have been
Yeah.
complaining about it for a while. Does not set off my
Yeah.
fight or flight as much as David Tennant staring me dead eye in the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Tennant on an obvious like, because there's a difference between like in the second episode where it's like, yeah, they're obviously doing this on a green screen,
Yeah.
and it's not great, but it's fine. I get why you're doing that. Versus that one where it's like they make screens that are that big. You don't have to do this on a green screen. What are you doing?
Saving their budget.
I feel like that's not like we're trying to do something that we don't have the budget to do. That's we ran out of time and we literally don't have another option kind of move.
Good call. So I'm not gonna lie, David Tennant in this special just picks up exactly where he left off.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like,
I think that's kind of fine.
yeah, just it's David Tennant again, which is fine.
I, I do think it's interesting from a narrative position, right?
Hmm.
How the various incarnations of the Doctor, while they are the same person, they obviously also are themselves and insular in that way.
I always
It's interesting to see it presented in such a stark way, where it's like, yeah, you are now a person who is uh, grown as a person and gone through so much more since we last saw you, but ultimately you are still the same different person than who you last were.
I would like to call it like you can tell this is David Tennant's Doctor after the events of like Heaven Sent and the 13th Doctor's Flux.
Yep.
Yeah, because this is just David Tennant with more trauma.
Yep.
Yeah, tired David Tennant, in fact.
Well, I don't actually know about that. I would say it's David Tennant with different trauma. I'm not sure about more.
Good call. Good call. Good call.
Yeah. They went and they they fixed him too much, so they had to break him again.
What were your thoughts on the actual plot line of the episode? Because the plot line is pretty simple.
Yeah,
It,
Starbeast, it's if it was just a Doctor Who episode, I wouldn't have minded so much. Knowing that this is a 60th anniversary special, I did find it kind of disappointing. It was fine, but it's only to me just fine. And that's when you're only doing 3 shots, it doesn't feel like you have that much room to miss in that way.
that's a good point, and I agree with that. Um,
Yeah.
it was to me more of a proof of concept that we can
Yeah.
go back to this old style because
Mm-hmm.
it's very much a Russell T Davies episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think these specials, spoiler alert, I think they have really good colors. I love
Mm-hmm.
the visuals of these specials, minus the
Oh yeah,
green screens.
and I really enjoy you can because you can tell, right? The I don't know if it's like this specific creative team just doesn't quite have it yet, or if it's like a BBC budgeting thing and they only had access to certain types of equipment. But in the same way that you can tell when they're on a green screen, you can tell when they're not, and when they're not, it looks really good.
Favorite scene is when the doctor kind of picks up like seeing Donna again for the first time, and they're out on the
Yep.
street, and it's just like beautiful
Yep.
lighting, nice
Yep.
crisp black sky, black London street,
Yep.
beautiful scene.
Hmm. I do have to say though that this episode, and I didn't pick up if it happened in the next two. I don't think it did, but I know it happened in the first one because it happens early and it happens without any sort of dialogue or anything else happening at the same time. They reused a portion of the 13th Doctor's, I don't want to call it like a theme, but there's a specific song that is played. It's probably a theme for something in throughout the 13th Doctor's tenure that has a very particular piece of vocals in it.
Hmm.
And I don't know how to describe it, but it is immediately recognizable, and I fucking despise it.
So, spoilers, it happens in all three specials that they do something like that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know
I'm not
one
surprised.
for a particular piece that I really love that's in the giggle.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's this very particular, like, almost choral sounding vocal piece where it's clearly like multiple people singing the same note
Hmm.
in it, and I cannot stand it. It sounds like the most cheapest daytime TVist kind of song that I can imagine, and it feels so out of place for Doctor Who. And it was a problem I had with the 13th Doctor's time, where it's like, regardless of everything else, this theme sucks, and I don't know why they keep using it.
How'd you feel about the villain of this episode, Beep the Meep?
Um, it's fine, right? It's a bit obvious, right, in what's gonna happen, but yeah, it still works fine.
Yeah. I don't
I
like the
liked that they used like a puppet, right? It's very obviously a real thing that probably has like CG eyes, but it works.
this thing terrifies me at times, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like at the same time I respect the design of this little gremlin.
Hmm. I am curious. I'm right. Yeah. So I guess this is as good a time as any to mention the some of the Magic the Gathering cards, right?
Yeah.
I'd seen the Magic cards as they were a release, so I wasn't any like surprised to see some of these characters because I'd seen them on the Magic cards before. But I am very shocked that they gave the Meep a card compared to all of the rest that they did in that little series. That seems so out of place. They must have like just had this one episode to work from, and they had to make do with what they had. But unless it's like a character that's appeared in the past that I just don't know about or something, it seems like such an odd choice to pick this one specific episode's villain and to make it a whole card.
So actually fun fact, this is an
Mm,
adaptation of a Fourth Doctor comic book.
okay.
Yeah. So Meep the Beep is kind of an established character just with a slight redesign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For second episode though,
Yes.
Wild Blue Yonder.
Oh, one thing I
Uh,
have to ask you
sure.
before that we get.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you think of the TARDIS interior they revealed at the end of the episode?
Quite boring, honestly. It's fine.
I like the scale of it. I don't like the
Yeah.
coloring until the lights start changing colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's like just white,
Yeah.
it
Dull.
is too sterile.
Yeah. To be fair, my favorite has always been like the 12th Doctor's, like
Mm,
blue little library type deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I like the coziness of some of them. And I feel like there needs to be just as like a reflection of how continually troubled the Doctor still is. I like it when the TARDIS reflects that too. And when
Mm.
the TARDIS is tidy, it triggers like alarm bells in my brain of something being wrong.
It's supposed to be his home, so why does it look like it's a kitchen? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
The Doctor went to IKEA.
Okay. The Wild Blue Yonder.
Mm,
This is probably, until I watched the giggle a second time, this on first impression was my favorite.
yep. That's where I am as well.
Mm.
I have only seen the Giggle once, but Wild Blue Yonder is currently of the three my favorite of them.
Yes.
Um,
It's a
and
really good. I'm sorry.
as I say, I think it has problems still, but it very much reminds me at times of why I love the parts of Doctor Who that I do.
So, Wild Blue Yonder is what I like to call a stuck on a spaceship episode. You know what I mean? Those
Yep. Oh
those
yeah, yeah,
style of
yeah.
episodes. I hate them. They're my least favorite. But Wild Blue Yonder at least does something with the concept.
I don't know if the stuck on a spaceship is quite how I would describe it, but I do very much like when there is not necessarily a problem that's being presented, but a question that's being asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be like we're stuck on a spaceship, so we have to explore. It's like, yeah, we're in this place. We're not dying immediately. Let's see what's going on here. And then having Doctor and the companion in a science fictiony set that's a real place that's really stuff they're interacting with, and just trying to figure out what happened here, what's going on. I love that.
This is a good episode in terms of like the mystery behind it.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it's got a great review.
Yeah. I like the not things.
Hmm. I don't like some of the animations that they used for them, but as an idea, I really like it.
It strikes me as a budgetary idea strictly because like
Yep,
the not things are supposed to be shitty CGI, but at the end of the day, it's
kind of.
still CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm I
I,
also very much enjoyed how when there's the one scene where the Doctor and Donna are face to face with the not things respectively,
yeah.
and they have to try to figure out like, oh, are you the real one? Am I the real one? Kind of thing.
hmm
I found it very amusing that Donna manages to actually find it out in a way that the Doctor doesn't, and the Doctor kind of just gets lucky a little bit.
Well, he even fucks up at
I
the end of
found
the
that very
episode
funny.
too, because he takes the wrong Donna at
Yeah.
the end.
Yep. I will say that I wasn't satisfied with that part of it. How
Really?
Yeah, because he does fuck up and he has a plan to make sure that he doesn't fuck up. But it feels like between that and the fact that the TARDIS is just going to show up right before the explosion happens, regardless, it makes the stakes that were set up before it feel uh, like they were fake.
Okay.
It cheapens them, right?
A little. Yeah.
And there's not necessarily a great way to write it out of that at that point, but I did find that a bit disappointing.
Now, I do know there's some controversy in this episode. Are you ready for this?
Mm, okay.
People expected Russell T Davies to retcon the Timeless Child reveal, and people got really pissed that
Okay.
this episode basically said, "Nah, we're running with the Timeless Child."
Yeah, I honestly don't care.
Yeah, I agree.
I can appreciate the people who are unhappy that they're continuing to lean into it, but for in terms of like a plot device, right? It works fine. I don't care. If people want to spend their time being angry about that, they're welcome to, but it allows other parts of what happened in the story to make more sense, and I think that's fine. There's plenty of room for them to go forward here and like make more subtle shifts other than just outright ignoring it,
hmm
right?
Yeah,
I think that would have been the worst thing, to just pretend it didn't happen in the current year for something as recent. That's just not the way to do it. That's not a bad not that's not a good idea.
I will also say, I really like the robot design in this episode.
Yeah,
The
good
the
robot.
the little rusted up freak. That's my buddy.
It's a little guy.
Yeah, he's just
He's
counting
on a mission.
down.
hmm Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's all I have for that one.
Same.
The CGI very long hallway. I wish they had done something else with. I think you know I get there on a timetable and they probably just didn't have the time or the resources to make it work. But I was quite disappointed with that because otherwise everything else is like small enclosed spaces, and I feel like you go like okay, because they have the decision point, right? They like okay, this is the story we want to tell. We want to have this giant spaceship, and we can choose to either have it be this size or we can have it be something different and be less visually impressive. And I would have rather they went with the less visually impressive route and had it not be a giant CG hallway.
I do think
But
while that's a distinct part and kind of like a nice set piece for the whole ship, it's kind
yeah,
of a boring idea for one.
yeah, because they already did it.
Yeah.
They had to be like a set piece for a whole season almost. With the one colony ship that's like literally so big that it has entire cities that don't know the other cities exist. It's like once you get to that scale, anything less just feels kind of like, yeah, it's just a big ship.
I will applaud this episode for one more factor. It
hmm
gave us that cursed image of David Tennant crab walking.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty bad.
I've been using that in several conversations as like my go-to GIF when I'm angry.
Oh
So
yeah.
thank you, Wild Blue Yonder.
All right, the giggle.
The giggle.
Hmm.
I like the giggle.
I like parts of it. I'm very divided on it, where I really like parts of it and I really dislike other parts of it.
The giggle is not a even episode. I will give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem, I think this is a problem with the entire setup, the entire conceit of this series of specials. I would have rather it been spun off into a full season. And I know that that's not a possibility, and that they absolutely did the best that they could with the resources that they had to fit the schedule that they were provided.
Hmm.
But the toy maker as a larger villain for a longer season would have been really cool. And I am quite disappointed in how condensed their story had to be out of necessity.
I agree. I really wish all three specials could have just been toy maker centered, right?
Yeah, I
Because
would have preferred that.
yeah, it's a really cool concept, and it's not like this isn't a villain that couldn't get you that much levity. Like
Yeah,
it kind of writes itself almost a little bit.
yeah. And there's some really great visual stuff that they do in the end scene with the toy maker fighting the unit soldiers.
Yeah.
Like that's just good shit. That's creative. It's very clever use of the visuals and your budget, and it works really well in showcasing how someone like the toy maker can be as goofy and kind of dumb as the character is, and also be a legitimate threat in a serious place.
So the toy maker, for those of you at home, it's basically a god who just wants to play.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just wants to play games.
I
Doesn't really.
what was it? He describes it as like an elemental force or something like that.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
That's a great way of putting it. It's like this is not a thing. This is an entity.
He can't be reasoned with. He just
Hmm.
wants to play.
Yep.
And Neil Patrick Harris is such good casting for him.
He is great casting for it. His German accent is so fucking bad though.
That's like the joke, though, because he goes between that
I
and
know, but
yeah.
it it is a joke that runs on for too long. I really wish that after uh just like for my own sanity, after it's revealed who it is with the doctor and Donna in the toy shop in Soho, just drop the accent. It's like we know what's going on now. You don't have to have it up to that degree. I get what's happening. Please just stop.
No.
But I do get it on the other side.
Well, that's
And
all
Neil
right
Patrick
then.
Harris is very fun.
Neil Patrick
Fits the role
Harris.
quite well.
I don't think we could ever get a recasting of this character so soon after him. And I'm really
Mm.
upset that we didn't get more of that really cool makeup of him like in like the top hat and like mime outfit,
Hmm.
because that is
Yep.
a really cool design and it's
Yep.
squandered on like the first 5 minutes of this episode.
Yeah, and there's quite a few scenes like that that make me want it to be longer, right?
Yeah.
You know, going back to like literally the first season in 2005 with the Bad Wolf stuff,
Hmm.
just having little nuggets of like, oh yeah, and here's Neil Patrick Harris doing some weird fucking thing. That'd been great over like a 10 episode thing. And then you get the reveal at the end.
I would love it if there was like like if they took that mime makeup outfit he had and like kind of
Hmm.
just put him in the background of the Star Beast and Wild Blue Yonder with that kind of shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't like the fact that the 14th Doctor is still alive.
The bioregeneration.
The bi-generate thing as a concept, I think that's fine. Just to have that 14th and 15th together for a period thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like the easy way of just being like, yeah, it's we don't really know what's happening, but judging by the fact, like, have Tenet like start to collapse and show like physical injury, right? Just so that it's like not a long term thing.
Yeah.
And it's weird to me, in particular, that this is like basically the second time they've done this with David Tennant, where they did it with the Dr. Donna thing as well, but they just stuck him in an alternate universe.
Yeah, the meta crisis.
Yeah, and now they basically did the same thing again.
We could have a
Uh,
multi-doctor story with 3 David Tennants and it would make sense.
right.
Yeah.
It would be very cool, but I would have rather they just like killed him. Let there be, consequences.
I think
I don't know.
the implication, and
But
I don't know if this is right or not, but it's
yes.
like when David Tennant does officially die as the 14th Doctor, his
Right.
body is basically just going to be teleported to the bi-generation moment and then pulled out of 14. Like just a weird time travel like that, which makes not that much
Probably.
sense, but it's
I
interesting.
I could have accepted it if they had made it more clear that he is living like a mortal life now.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing for me, and I would have to imagine that that's probably the implication, in the same way that they did it for the Meta Crisis,
Hmm.
where it's like there's a finite time period where this is going to happen, where we can have our little bow on everything, and everybody gets to leave relatively happy without it being like universe wrenching with there being two whole ass doctors coexisting now.
Hmm. But I will say, Shitagawa is a cool
Mm,
doctor.
he is. Shooty's great. I did think that whoever was doing the audio mixing kind of dropped the ball in the giggle. He
I
was
agree.
weirdly soft compared to the rest, and not in like a Shooty is uh
Soft
not
spoken.
speaking at the right levels. It's like somebody physically turned his mic down to make David Tennant sound louder, kind of way, and it was very strange.
Yeah, because like that's what caught me off guard with Shooty in this episode.
Yeah,
Is like his first lines are like, "Nah, man, I'm me," and it sounds
yeah,
so soft. Like it's supposed to be like, "Nah,
yeah,
man, I'm me." Like he's
yeah.
excited. I'm a
And
new
then you get
body.
to the church on Ruby Road, and it's fixed. So it's clearly like not a super intentional thing, but I didn't like it.
I didn't like it that much either. It was weird because like it made me worried that like Shooty was going to be like a more soft-spoken doctor in general, and I didn't know how
Mm-hmm.
I felt about that because it was so contrasting to everybody else.
Yep.
But no, it's like Ruby Road. It's just a fucking doctor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I also do love how fast Donna just kind of attaches to 15 as a character.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So here's something I wanted to bring up, right?
Sure.
When they do like the
What's up?
two TARDIS things, when they basically say like, "Oh, we're just going to use like our prize from the toy maker to make a second TARDIS,"
Yeah.
and then like Shooty's TARDIS is going to be like it has a jukebox in it, so they can tell which one's which.
Yep.
How cool would it be if they did a thing throughout the season or like Shooty's run where he just gets like little souvenirs and trinkets to put into the TARDIS from his travels?
I don't know. I honestly hope that we get to the because it's in March, I think, right? That the next like proper start of the season is going to be
I think it's May.
May, well, whenever it is. I kind of really hope that they just be like, oh no, the TARDIS wasn't just wasn't done reconfiguring itself now, and here's the actual one.
Mm.
Shortcut that a little bit, maybe show it a little, but yeah, I they definitely need to do something.
Oh, underrated question right here, right?
Sure.
What did you think of the 14th Doctor's sonic screwdriver?
The 15th
No, 14 had his own
for Shooty.
sonic.
Oh, he did. I
Yeah.
didn't notice.
Oh, dude, I loved it from the first time I saw it.
Let me
It's
look it up.
basically just like David Tennant's design, just like a little pointier and white.
Oh, yeah. I did not realize that it was in any way significantly different. So that's
Damn.
on me, I suppose.
I mean, you only get like a
I
good look at it in the Star Beast.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I like it. I
I
think
guess
it's
it
cool.
does like not help that in the whole second episode it's just gone.
Yeah, and like
No, it's
it's
fine.
not going to do
It's
much
cool.
against the toy maker, so not even used in that episode.
Yeah.
So I guess that does lead us to Church on Ruby Road.
Yes.
This is probably one of my favorite Christmas specials from Doctor Who, mainly because I do not like the majority of the Christmas specials
Yes.
from Doctor Who.
I was going to say the same thing that I had to keep reminding myself that this is a Christmas special and I have to grade it on a curve.
Yeah,
And it clears the curve for sure.
it is a
But it
good
is still
piece.
a Christmas special.
hmm Um, I think as a first official episode for Shooty, it's really strong.
Yep. Yes.
I really enjoy the scene of where Ruby, the new companion, meets him at the nightclub.
Hmm.
I really like that visual of the Doctor just at a rave.
Yeah. It was good.
It's it's
I think
something.
that really helps to communicate like who he is as a person, and I like that person.
Yeah, it brings like this Doctor is a little bit more of a free spirit,
Yep.
and he's enjoying himself, which is
Yeah.
refreshing compared to like, oh, I'm like, I guess you could say like the closest I would compare him to is like 10 and 11 because those were like the two young sexy
Hmm.
doctors, and they're
Yep.
like the more free spirited. But then you get Capaldi,
Yep.
and he's like, I'm tortured old man. Am I a good person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think there's a really interesting difference between Capaldi in particular, where you have the difference between Stuti being sort of like self-centered versus Capaldi being self-absorbed,
That's good.
where they're both very much like caring about themselves, not caring about themselves, but they are the center of attention and they're not going to take anything less, but they do it in very different ways.
hmm
I like that. It's a
Like
cool contrast.
Shooty is way more sociable,
Yep.
whereas Capaldi was like, I'm the center of attention. If you don't like that,
Yep.
we're
Well, not
done.
even that. He's like, I am the center of the universe. And if I don't think that you deserve to be in that universe, I'm just not going to acknowledge your presence at all.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you have like tortured Capaldi. Then you have
Yep.
Whitaker, and she was like more anxious than like your normal
Hmm.
doctor. And then you have just David Tennant again, who's depressed.
David Tennant again, doing David Tennant things.
Just depressed David Tennant. And
Yep.
then you finally have Shooty where he's just like, nah man, I'm here for fun. I'm the doctor, bitch.
Hmm.
What'd you
Any
think?
particular thoughts on Ruby Sunday?
I like that she is a very well formed and developed character in her first episode.
I agree.
She has one of the strongest first episodes out of any companion since maybe like Amelia Pond.
Hmm. I agree.
Yeah. I love that she's like,
I'm looking forward to see what happens.
yeah. I love that they start her off with a mystery.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess, yeah, because there's a lot of mystery in this first episode with her. Because,
Hmm.
like, there's the
A lot
question
of
of
questions.
where'd she come from?
Hmm. Where'd she go?
Where'd she go? Um,
Where did you come from, Ruby? Son? No, that doesn't really line up. No.
no, it does
Anyways,
not.
one syllable short.
Where. My big question in the episode is the whole Mrs. Floods incident.
Which part is that? Do you mean?
So, like, there's the neighbor. She tells Ruby to go on
Oh,
the adventure.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like I think there's like a couple of shots that you can call there, and you know, like what are the options, right?
Yeah.
It's either the master, it's Ruby's mom, or it's some other thing that is going to be alluded to very heavily in like the second or third episode.
Yeah. Because like they set up like a lot in the specials, and like there's even more set up for
Yeah.
the like the larger season in the episode itself for Ruby, the Church on Ruby Road. Because
Yep.
like they talked about like the toy maker says something along the line like, "Oh, there's this one guy at the end of the universe that called He Who
Hmm.
Waits. I don't fuck
Yep.
with him. You better stay away from
Yep.
him." Or like
And the meat was talking about their master that they report to as well.
yeah, and then like he's toy maker says, "Oh yeah, the master is in a golden tooth," and we see the golden tooth gets taken
Hmm.
away at the end of the episode.
Yep.
So there's a lot, and it just compounds even more with like the Mrs. Flood scene at the end of the episode.
Hmm.
What do you think of the physics gloves that they introduced in the episode?
It's neat. It's
Yeah,
it's fun, right?
yeah.
I don't have too much to eat like positive, negative. It's fine. As a plot device, it works.
I like the idea
I
that sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would love the idea if Shooty's doctor was more like of a techie, and that he
Hmm.
had like just a variety of small little gadgets, like not as big as the Sonic, but like just,
Hmm.
oh, here's a toy I'm playing with. Oh, it just happens to work well in this very specific situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that. I liked that while it's something that's like obviously very powerful, they were pretty restrained with how they used it, and when they did use it, it followed a pretty strict logic, right? They didn't let the weird, quirky gadget take center stage too much. I appreciated that.
Yeah. It wasn't like because you could use that easily just to punch like the Goblin King in the episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But then no, he just uses it to
and
like pull it down.
well, I guess they kind of do. He just punches him with the steeple of a church.
Yeah. Accidentally.
Yeah, totally not on purpose.
Yeah. Doctor doesn't kill.
No, no, never. Um, okay. Elephant in the room now. In the room though.
Oh no.
Uh, the musical number.
Murray Gold is a talented composer, right?
Mhm. Oh yes.
Yes. Murray Gold is probably I would put up there like in my top 3 living composers right now.
Yep.
Just because he does a lot with like little budget and tough constraints.
Yep.
The Goblin song is not his strongest piece of work.
I'll say though, if your job was to write the fucking Goblin song, I don't think you could do much better.
No, the Goblin song was a bad idea from the start. I like
Yes.
I like what it does, and like the scene itself is a good scene, but its
Mhm.
execution in the musical department specifically, because
Yep.
it's mainly when the goblins themselves are singing that's upsetting. Like
Yes.
as soon as like Ruby Sunday and the Doctor show up and they start stealing the show, I fell in love with that
Yep.
scene because
That makes it fun.
yeah,
But the goblins, for one, they shouldn't be singing in the first place because it's very dumb. But two, if you're gonna have them sing, they shouldn't be singing in fucking English. They
well,
should be speaking in like goblin shitters or some other shit.
just give them like little what's the word I'm looking for? Just give them like little inaudible sounds and just put the subtitles underneath it.
I don't know. I don't or like the alternative, right, is that you present them differently earlier in the episode. You present them as being more sophisticated, right?
Yeah,
As a culture that has that can have you believe that something as complicated as both music and highly practiced choreography could exist in that world, and they did not sell me on that fact.
no, because It's just the lyrics are dumb.
Or alternatively,
Mhm.
you just have the one goblin that's actually doing the singing look visually distinct, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm not saying that you have to make a sexy goblin, but it wouldn't hurt.
Can I just read these lyrics?
Please.
Because there's a lot more
I'm,
lyrics than one would
I'd
think.
be very curious to hear them spoken word to see if it like does it help or does it hurt, you know?
We got a baby, we can feast. We can dine 3 days at least. Baby blood and baby bones. Baby butter for the baby scones. Little baby feets with little baby toes. Every one of us wants the nose. If baby's had such bad luck, now into baby we will tuck. Eat the baby, add some salt. Bay leaves, barley, salt, and powdered malt. Now baby's salted, she's a treat. Her destiny, it's time to meet. Baby we need, baby we feed. Each of our teeth better than beef. Baby so soft, carried aloft. Big brown eyes, caramelized. He's the Goblin King, yes, the Goblin King. He's not a myth, he's an actual thing. Here's the king, here's the king, here's the king, here's the King Goblin. We love the king, we sing ding-a-ling, and love his chin when it's wobbling. He likes to dine on coincidence. It fills him, builds him up, and hence he can eat, he can eat. 500 puppies with golden fur, orphan boys with jet black hair, circus clowns with a balloon. He can eat me, he makes me swoon. A banquet for a king on high. Oh little baby, say goodbye.
Yeah, I hate it.
It is disturbingly poorly written.
It brings up so many new questions. You know, like
They eat
I would
beef.
never have right. Like they have seasoning. What the hell?
Like the whole conceit of the episode is little goblins that feed on possibility and luck,
Mm-hmm.
which is not a bad
Which
idea.
is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like little gremlins almost. But why do they need a song and dance number?
Yes. That is where I struggle to understand as well. It feels so out of place. Oh man.
Apparently, it did well in the charts, which is fucked up.
Did it?
Apparently,
But like the specific song did?
yes, because they
I'm
sold
very
it as a
disappointed in
charity
everyone.
single.
Well, okay. Look, I'm not saying that, taste is subjective, right? I'm not going to say someone's wrong for liking something that I don't. But I would like their names and addresses
I just want to
just
talk.
to, want to talk. Yeah. I am looking forward to more of the 15th Doctor, though.
He is a nice return for Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we'll have to see. It's obviously too early to fully tell. But I am very interested to see how they continue it.
It's a strong opener to a new season. And yeah. Now, hear me out, right? Because this is what I originally thought they were going to do when I heard David Tennant was back for the specials.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea that the 14th Doctor had no real face, and that at the end of each episode, he would go and change faces by accident because he's like an unstable regeneration until he like fully regenerates. So we had like first episode with David Tennant, and then as a joke, Matt Smith comes back immediately after as the face.
Yeah.
And then we get like Tom Baker back, and then he becomes the curator.
Yes. That would have been interesting. And then you could have had the bi-generation thing as like
Yeah,
a byproduct of all of the unstable regeneration energy.
yeah, exactly.
Had it, you know, they needed to let it cook a little longer. And I
I
feel like that's kind of my thoughts on like everything of the specials is that it's just like you just gotta let it cook a little longer. And I can appreciate that they probably didn't have that luxury, but there's a lot of little things where it's just like, really? Come on. Come on.
Oh, you know what was honestly
I know
something
you're
that
back.
made me really happy with the specials?
Yeah? What's that?
It's one of Shooty's first scenes in the Church of Ruby Road, where there's like a
Hmm.
police officer who's like, "Hey, are you hurt? That statue just fell on you."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he's like, "Nah, I'm good, man. Go home and propose to your girlfriend. Get your wedding plans ready." And he's like, "Wait, how'd you know
Yeah.
that?" And he just like goes up and down, just dissecting this random cop on the street. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's very good. I also very much enjoyed that it's just like he goes through all of the effort to make sure that Ruby doesn't get crushed by the giant snowman. And then there's the great visual of just random woman with a baby stroller.
Yes.
It's perfect. That's very classic Doctor Who sort of comedy where it's just like, no, you don't get a break.
No.
There's always a problem.
What do you think of 15's sonic screwdriver? Now that we're kind of like wrapping this up,
I don't like it.
it's a TV remote. What's there not to like?
Eh, I don't know. I'm sure they're gonna play on it more as they get into it. And if they do go down the avenue of like, oh yeah, no, this
And now the
why does
BBC.
every Sonic screwdriver have to be the same? I wanted to try something different. I think that'll be fun, and
Yeah.
I'm very much open to that as an option. But having it just sort of be what it is, um, I don't like it.
I like how
I'll put
unique it
it this
looks.
way:
Yeah.
it is very unique, but it reminds me of something that I would expect to see in like a Twitter ad, if you get what I mean.
Okay. Okay. Is it
It is a
better?
very particular shape. I'll say that.
Is it
And I
better
don't
or
think that they
worse?
intended to be. They definitely didn't.
Better or
Yeah. What do you
worse
say?
than Capaldi's Sonic Shades?
Oh, worse, I think.
Really? Okay.
The Sonic shades are cool as hell. And
Thank
a
you.
very fun way to incorporate the the blindness, right?
Yeah.
So no, I've got no problem with the Sonic shades.
Did you get to see the trailer for season 14?
No, I don't believe so.
So there is an official trailer for Doctor Who season 14.
Hmm.
Let me get that in the chat for you. There is one thing in this trailer I'm incredibly psyched about, and people are just gonna
Hmm.
think I'm a fucking nerd for it too. There we go.
All right. Is it still going to be through Disney Plus?
Yes, because the way they prevented cancellation is to basically make a deal with Disney, and Disney is also funding some of the production.
That's unfortunate.
It is just
I
how.
was really because I've been watching all of the like the entire rest of Doctor Who through HBO Max,
Yeah,
uh, and apparently I've been taking for granted uh, just having a good streaming service because I was appalled at how Disney has managed to categorize and make accessible the Doctor Who stuff now.
I do not like how they do the Doctor Who specials on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because there's not just like a Doctor Who section.
No,
They're
it's
all just their own separate entries.
and they don't even go from one to another like in a playlist.
Yeah.
You have to
Oh
click
yeah.
each one, and that wouldn't be too
For
bad.
me, I'll say,
Yeah,
in their credit, for me, after I had watched the second one, it started to pick up on the fact that, oh, you're watching a series. But yeah, it's inexcusable that Disney can put this much money and resources into this and have at the end of the first special not recommend the next special.
It's
Like
so
that
annoying.
is such a basic concept that I would have thought they'd gotten past at this point to, keep people engaged with your platform. Like YouTube wrote this book 15 years ago. Where are you guys at?
Have you seen the 40-second trailer?
No, I have not yet. I see
Okay.
the link to it.
Okay.
But I'll have to watch that later because I'm on a different setup right now.
Spoilers: the Beatles are in this next
Yep.
season.
Oh God.
Don't oh god me. You know that I'm hyped.
Okay, no, we have to talk about the gravity Mavity thing.
I'm okay on it.
I very much am not.
Really.
It is too dumb. It is too dumb of a thing for them to have as like a running gag that they're gonna fix eventually or something. And I don't like it.
You do not. I don't mind it, but I have to remind myself every time I hear the word that it's a gag.
Yeah. I wish at the end of uh the what is it? Wild Blue Yonder.
Mm-hmm.
They had gone from the spaceship and had kind of be like, "Oh shit, we messed this up," and then just go fix it then, and just be like, "Hey, it's gravity," and then just then you go to London and all hell's breaking loose, right? But I
Do you know about
I don't
the
like it.
Wild Blue Yonder continuity error?
No, I don't think so.
So in Wild Blue Yonder, the setup is Isaac Newton goes, sits under a tree, and then the TARDIS
Yeah.
lands, and then the apples fall, right?
Yep.
So before that, in continuity, it was actually the Fourth Doctor was sleeping in that tree, and he dropped an apple on Isaac Newton. So this implies that the 14th Doctor landed the TARDIS right on the fucking 14th Doctor and smothered him. I'm sorry, the Fourth
Beautiful.
Doctor.
Yep. Yep.
Which I know they probably didn't mean that, but
It is quite funny that they reused the same gag.
was it me or was Isaac Newton kind of hot?
No, he was not kind of hot. He was hot.
That was one of my favorite lines in that episode. Just because
Yep.
gay doctor is not a bad idea.
I do think there's an interesting, and I guess maybe that they'll get into that a bit more, but like the whole, now that they're playing around with the notion of gender and regenerations,
Mm-hmm.
there's some, interesting world building potential, right? That we'll have to see if they partake in.
What do you mean? Because like, there's Donna's daughter
Well,
who
like,
was, yeah,
but for among the Time Lords, knowing that they can change gender as they regenerate,
yeah,
uh, how that changes for them as a culture their notion of gender.
yeah,
Because Doctor Who, very classically, is reflective of humankind's identities about gender,
yeah,
and particularly when you look at the older ones, the roles that entails. Knowing now that the Time Lords don't follow that, it opens up the potential from like a science fiction perspective, right? Where
mm-hmm.
you're looking at an alien race as a way to differentiate them from humanity and to also use that as a critique or a commentary on humanity. It opens that door, and I think it'll be interesting to see if they use it or when they use it, I guess, because it'll probably be inevitable.
Yeah. I mean, it's not intentional, but it's kind of like why I like some of the older Doctor Who Time Lord naming conventions, where not every
Mm-hmm.
Time Lord had a name, where some of them, like the
Mm-hmm.
Doctor and the Master, had titles.
Yeah.
Because it would make sense if if you can't predict how you're going to turn out next one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, next time around, it makes sense that you would want like a more universal name.
Mm-hmm.
So I
No,
agree
it
with
definitely
you
does.
in
It's a
like
very different idea of self.
Yeah. I think that was also kind of like an interesting idea they kind of pursued with Missy a little bit.
Hmm.
Because
For
like
sure.
they say like, oh, Doctor Master best friends forever. But like the first thing Missy does when she meets Capaldi is she's like, oh yeah, he kinda making the vapors come up, you know? Which I don't think that's ever a thought the Master and Doctor ever had about each other, but it's definitely a cool
But from the
idea.
perspective of the master and the doctor, it's a very effective way for the master to get under the doctor's skin and make him feel awkward.
Oh hell yeah! Out of
And,
all the
that's
doc,
very funny.
like the original David Tennant, like John Sims storyline where he basically keeps the doctor in a cage and turns him into a little gremlin.
Yes, I do.
I don't think that fucked with him as much as Missy pinning the doctor up to a wall and making out with him.
Yeah.
In that respect, Missy might be the most successful of all the iterations.
Oh yeah. I think it's, not like a huge number of options, but I definitely appreciate Missy's story arc very much. I think it was handled surprisingly well given the context around how some of it started.
Yeah. What else did we have for the show? Now that we've geeked about Doctor Who
Uh
for the span of
yeah,
an hour and 11
we
minutes.
gotta we gotta eat our vegetables now, but I have like a rapid fire of news stuff that's worth mentioning.
Are we going to talk about the Supreme Court?
Very briefly.
Oh no.
Um, Only to the extent of acknowledging that it happened, that the Supreme Court has started their case, or started hearing arguments regarding the Colorado primary ballot qualification case.
Hmm.
And that a decision has not been handed down yet, but one is expected to happen fairly shortly, and that the general sentiment is not positive currently. That it's very likely the justices either 7-2 or, unfortunately, pretty likely 8-1 will be ruling against Colorado and saying that Trump can remain on their primary ballots. And we'll have to see what sort of specific arguments they cite when their ruling does come down. But having listened to some of the arguments that are being made, yeah, it's pretty disappointing, to say
It
the least.
was.
Um,
I don't understand. I understand it, but like on paper, that was a really
mm,
bad argument. Like hearing,
yeah,
argumentative hearing, because like I listened to it too. I was listening to it at work while I was just doing
yep,
some random
same.
task, and it was kind of pathetic.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, I found
just
it very frustrating.
I'm not even a lawyer, you know,
Hmm.
and I felt like could have argued against that pretty fast, like with citing
Yep.
cases and whatnot.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's probably an element to it, right? Where if you are someone already interacting with the various judiciaries at a regular level, like those people I'm sure are, you're probably less inclined to do it, right? You want to, you don't want to burn bridges too early, right?
Hmm.
But this feels like the kind of thing that I wish they would have burned some bridges, you know, introduce a little bit more disrespect here, because some of the arguments that were being presented specifically by Justice Roberts were very dumb. And I don't think there's a more charitable way to put it. They were just dumb and wild goose chases for the sake of being distractions, to try and distract away from the arguments that were already being, questioned about.
Can I just like throw out a small argument? I feel is slightly related to this.
Sure.
You know how people are always saying like Biden's too old or Trump is too old to run for president?
Yep.
On the same stance of that argument and seeing what it's done on the larger scale to the presidency, I think there should also be like fire in that argument for terms for the Supreme Court instead of these lifetime appointment deals. Because quite
Hmm.
frankly, I feel like that's how we got to this situation as well, where they don't have a fire under their ass. So we get tomfoolery like this.
I don't know.
I don't
Well,
know.
we do have to wait and see how it actually rules, right? Because there's a chance that some, I would take. And this is the sad thing, right?
Yeah.
I'd take a 6-3. If we get a 6-3, I can live with that. But the prospect of anything less is very bleak, and the fact that it's even a possibility is quite disappointing.
All I want is something that's not an 8-1.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I know
8-1 against Colorado would be depressing as hell.
we don't even care about the end
It'd be a
result
rough
now. We
day.
just want the argument.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like we'll see how it goes. If we don't have a ruling by the end of next week, I think then we'll start to go into some of the more like what are the possible routes that they have, right? Because there's not one path. They've made that very clear. The justices did, and the questions they're asking is that they're definitely considering a number of aspects on it. Though I am concerned as to what seemed like at least their priorities on those different avenues. So,
Mr. Kyril, are you making an argument for a third term?
what do you mean?
Oh, that was just my favorite line of the whole thing. Like,
Oh,
just out of
yeah.
nowhere, one of the justices says, like, Mr. Lawyer, are you making an argument for a third term? I'm just like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, I get it, but like, what the fuck?
I did, credit to the lawyer representing Trump. I did very much like his candor when I think it was Sotomayor asked him, like, why aren't you pursuing the, questioning whether or not this was an insurrection or not, or insurrectious act? And I did like that he was just like, well, we don't think that's a particularly successful line of argument, so we didn't include it.
That's based.
It was.
Yeah.
Compared to Trump's normal lawyers, at least this guy seems to know what the hell he's doing. So that was a little refreshing, right? Because oh boy, do we have some incompetency to go over here today.
What competency do we have to go over here today?
Oh, more from the office of Miss Haba, of course.
Oh no.
But we'll get to that. We'll wrap up with Trump here because there's only one more. Well, no, there's one more. The rest is more Weisselberg, and that's to say that we had at one of Trump's, I guess you call it a rally this week. The quiet part said very out loud, where Trump said that should NATO allies request U.S. assistance in defense against Russia, that he would not provide it.
What the fuck?
So yeah, that's horrifying, and about as I would say that's about as not supporting your allies when they're in a time of need is about as un-American as it gets.
Who said that they were our allies, dude? Like, clearly you're not paying attention.
This North Atlantic Treaty. I don't know. Treaty is a big word. We might as well just get rid of it.
I like to think of us more of South Atlantic, actually. I don't think that really defines us anymore.
we're, we're more North Atlantic acquaintances. I just work with them.
Yeah, man. Like, what oceans are near us? Like, let me just pull up a
Yeah.
map of the world. No, I think we're more
Yeah.
Pacific allies, actually.
It's the kind of thing that's like not new by any stretch, but it is still very scary to hear said out loud with such confidence.
There's 3 words I never want out of Trump's mouth. I'll say one of them. The audience can just figure out what the other 2 is. But every time he says NATO, I don't like it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Tell me one good thing
I
he
actually
said
don't.
with the word NATO in it.
Oh, just like in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he's talking about NATO, it's not good for NATO.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, generally though, if he's talking about anything, you better hope you're not getting mentioned because it's not a good time.
Oh, what about I beg to differ. There's the Taylor Swift comment he made today.
Did he?
Yeah, I posted this
I
before the
missed
show.
this.
Yeah,
Oh, did you? I might have missed it.
Truth Social. Donald Trump tweets. Well, sit post. He truths. I signed and was responsible for the American Modernization Act for Taylor Swift and all other musical artists. Joe Biden didn't do anything for Taylor and never will. There's no way she could endorse crooked Joe Biden, the worst and most corrupt president in the history of our country, and be disloyal to the man who made her so much money. Beside that, I like her boyfriend Travis. Even though he may be a liberal, he probably can't stand me.
Oh my God.
Isn't that just
That's very
arch?
funny because I don't think she's endorsed Biden.
No, 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 she is not.
She's just told people to go vote, like always. But you know, don't say the quiet part out loud, right?
Oh well.
Oh boy. But there's other news to talk about. Continue the wrap up. The Hawaii State Supreme Court issued a ruling uh, against an individual's Second Amendment rights in the state, citing per the Supreme Court tests that were issued in their last gaunt with the Second Amendment. The Hawaiian, what is it? The spirit of Oahu. I gotta make sure I can pick this up right. Unanimous opinion Wednesday declaring that its state constitution grants individuals absolutely no rights to keep and bear arms outside the context of military services, um, refusing to interpolate the Supreme Court's shoddy historical analysis into Hawaiian law, specifically stating that because the Hawaiian law predated the Constitution, that the spirit of it should be applied today in its historical context instead.
And this is just proof that the right does not care about fucking Hawaii.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure they're going to care really quick.
I don't know. I feel like I'm sorry. No, I shouldn't say the right. I should say the NRA
Mm-hmm.
because this definitely feels like the kind of thing they would squash as soon as it came out. But
Yep.
yeah,
But it is very funny having the Supreme Court's own um, arguments sort of twisted back against them. It's quite amusing.
I salute Hawaii, our Hawaiian brethren.
Yeah, gonna go get some dinner rolls to celebrate.
Dude, it's Super Bowl Sunday right now. Hawaiian dinner rolls aren't off the menu.
As if they ever are.
Okay, yeah. Name one meal that wouldn't be improved with a Hawaiian sweet roll. I'll wait.
You can't.
You
It's not
can't.
possible.
Like fucking Lucky Charms, Hawaiian sweet roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza, sweet roll. You bring me into a Pizza Hut, sit me down, and put a bowl of Hawaiian sweet rolls in front of me before the pizza comes out. There's no question they're gonna be gone.
I will go to Sakura Sushi, like down here in GR, and I will bring a bag of Hawaiian sweet rolls as my appetizer, and no one
Yeah.
will look down on me.
As is your right.
Jesus died for my ability to have a Hawaiian sweet roll with every meal.
Amen.
Some would call that gluttony. Nah, nah, nah. I call that living. What the hell are you doing? Now, where
We
were
do
we?
know
Yeah.
what Elon Musk is going to be doing this week, though.
What's he doing this week?
And that is responding to an order from the SEC to testify in response to an investigation into his purchase of Twitter in 2022.
Wait, what's the investigation over?
They're trying to determine if it was done lawfully.
Are you telling
Because there's
me
like,
a tweet
yeah,
is not a lawful binding contract?
yeah. So this is from CNBC. Federal Judge Ordeal must testify again in the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission's probe of his $44 billion takeover of Twitter, giving the regulator and the billionaire a week to agree on a date and location for the interview. This was something that was supposed to happen back in September. Elon refused, and here we are today. This was a ruling that was made in December, and a tentative ruling made in December, formalized Saturday night. The SEC has sued Musk back in October in order to compel the CEO to testify as part of an investigation into his purchase of Twitter. Musk refused to attend an interview in September that was part of the probe. The agency is examining whether Musk followed the law when filing the required paperwork about his purchases of Twitter stock and whether his statements in relation to the deal were misleading.
God damn.
So, yeah, not a whole lot of details yet. And it very well likely could just be that there's no meaningful outcome to happen of this other than just like, yeah, fix the paperwork. But it is very funny regardless.
I like to see it as like just making sure Elon doesn't sleep as well at night at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that's a lot. Just, I don't know. Sorry. My girlfriend is watching the Puppy Bowl out in the living room. And I just heard her scream, "Yay, there's a touchdown." And she's celebrating with our new cat.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, literally, as I'm trying to have a thought, I just hear that. And she's using it in her voice where she talks to the cat.
Last story I have,
Yo.
so we can go back to the Puppy Bowl.
Yeah.
Trump lawyer Alina Hava has had some questions raised in regard to her submission into evidence a New York Times article that was submitted as by an anonymous individual. Let me see if I can pull up the exact detail here, because I have heard this like scattered around a number of things, and of course, just googling that gets SEO'd into oblivion. I could have sworn I had this pulled up. That's unfortunate. Sorry, New York Post, not New York Times. That makes more sense. But she used a New York Post article that was quoting an anonymous source in one of their articles that effectively was an attack against the judge Engoron, I believe it is, or whomever their name is, related to Trump's court case in the Ishan Carroll case. Cited this unsourced, unnamed New York Post article, and it has now come to light that there's a chance that Hava may have been the anonymous source for that article.
So they falsified evidence, is what you're saying? Well, potentially.
Possibly, yes. Yeah. And the real rub for why this is all coming back around again is that Alan Weisselberg, a former employee for the Trump Organization, took a plea deal, I believe, in 2022, admitting guilt in one of the cases that he was involved in, and was sentenced to 5 months prison time as a result. As a result of that case, and part of the plea deal, Weisselberg admitted to having perjured himself in the events of that and other trials. That opens up a new investigation into that perjury and gets Alina Hoppa involved, because all of this is, mixing together into the criminal pyramid that is the Trump Organization. And while Hava was not the lawyer in the initial representation of Weisselberg, he has been a representative in further instances, and it's called into question who she's actually operating as a lawyer for.
I'm kind of questioning that myself.
Hmm. So this is again MSNBC, uh, quoting here from Lisa Rubin. Uh, Brings back to Haba and the civil fraud trial, in which Judge Arthur Angron is expected to render a decision on damages soon. Like Trump, Weisselberg is a defendant, and like Trump, Weisselberg was compelled by subpoena to testify in the case. But Weisselberg reportedly had been negotiating a second plea deal agreement with the Manhattan's DA's office, according to the New York Times, this time allegedly perjuring himself during his testimony at the civil fraud trial. Engoron, who must judge the credibility of the witnesses while making his ruling, unsurprisingly ordered both sides to disclose what they know about Weisselberg's supposed willingness to admit to lying on the stand. Engoron further directed the parties to provide their views on how the alleged plea negotiations should inform his timing, if at all. Yeah, it's all a giant mess. And it, like usual, doesn't look good for Hava. But, when has anything?
There was a New York Post article where they actually said some pretty nice things.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, did I say the quiet part out loud?
Something like that. But that's all I have for my short list of news.
It is a
Plenty
pretty
more stuff that we
slow,
can go through.
yeah,
But yeah,
very slow news
being
week.
Super Bowl week, we got junk food and puppy bowls to go deal with.
That's very true. What are you going to have for your Super Bowl meal?
I'm gonna be making a chip dip, bean and cheese style.
That's badass.
It's tasty.
I'm not having any Super Bowl food, so we're probably just going to make some butter
Mhm.
chicken and treat it like a normal night, but with more puppies.
Understandable.
Yeah. Probably cuddle my cat.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. In that case, is this the end of the show, Mr. Kyril?
I do believe it is.
Okay. Well, I'm Mr. Orion, and I've been a schmo.
And I'm Cairo, and I've been a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmo Show.